Hey everyone, it's Pastor Josh again with another Bible Insight video. Just this time we're going to cover Genesis chapter 16 through 18. Just trying to get back on track. This week we're on our second week of Bible reading. Hopefully you've been following the plan that we've handed out a couple of weeks ago. If you still need one, just call the church office or ring me or Steve or send us an email. We'd love to get it in your hands. Nothing more important than nourishing our soul and spending daily time with God and His Scripture and His Word, because that is what strengthens us, what enables us to grow spiritually. And when the trials and temptations of life come, we can endure under them. We can increase our faith because we're relying wholly upon the Lord to do so. So real quick, just to get through these 3 chapters. Again, these videos are not meant to touch on everything, just to give a little bit of insight and highlight a few things of note within the chapters. And I'm going to move quickly because these 3 chapters have a lot in it. And then we'll get back on track with Genesis 19 and 20, which is what we're supposed to be reading today, along with Psalm 1 and Mark 7. But we won't cover those, just Genesis. All right, so Genesis 16. What can we say about Genesis 16? Well, 15 ended with, again, God promising Abram that He was going to give him a son. And here is Genesis 16. Sarai has endured 10 years without a child. And so, as was the custom of the day, a barren wife could obtain children through one of her maidservants. And so Abram ignored the divine decree God gave that he would indeed have a son, and listened to his wife Sarah, and Ishmael was born. And Hagar, the maidservant of Sarai, who is the mother to Ishmael, despised Sarai after she found out she was with child, and as a result, Sarah blamed Abram for this. And I want to note something here. If you remember earlier, I think it was in Genesis 12, Abram set the standard for his leadership when he told Sarai to lie to Pharaoh when they went into Egypt. Remember, there was a famine in the land of Canaan where they were, so they went down to Egypt to sojourn, and he said, lie, tell a lie so that it'll go well with me. And here we see again in this account of Abram listening to his wife Sarai to have a child by her maidservant. Again, the man is not leading as he should. Just as Adam was passive in his leadership role in the garden, so too here Abram is when his wife Sarai told him to do this thing. What's worse is Abram then transfers his responsibility back to Sarai on how to deal with her maidservant Hagar, right? So Hagar runs off because Sarai is mistreating her so bad, apparently she runs off. God comes to Hagar and tells her, you go back to your maidservant, submit to her. Don't worry about your son. You'll name him Ishmael. I'll bless him. He'll be great, and nations of peoples will come from him. So she goes back and submits to Sarai. And then we move on to Genesis 17. Abram is 99 years old, and the Lord appears to him again. God establishes His covenant with Abram and tells him the same things He's already told him, right? Abram rightly falls on his face before the Almighty and Holy God. That is the reverence we should have in the presence of God, whether it's His Word, whether it's in prayer, is just falling upon our face. God, You are worthy. Now, here's an interesting side note. The Lord appears to him. Abram in Hebrew is Avram, which means lead father or head father, right? God changes Abram's name to Abraham, or in Hebrew Avraham, which means father of multitude, right? So God made that promise to him that he was the lead, people were going to be blessed in him, and then the whole nations of the earth would be blessed in him, changing his name to Abraham because he's going to be the father of a multitude of nations, right? And then He also changes Sarah's name to Sarah, right? It's no longer Sarai, it's Sarah, and promises that she will be the mother of nations and kings of people will come from her. Notice that again, Abraham falls on his face before the Lord, and he says, well, Lord, I'm 99, I'm going to be 100, Sarah's 90. Can Ishmael just be the one? And he does the same thing he did in Genesis 15 when he said Eleazar was the only heir of his house. And what's God's response to this? No, Abraham, No, I told you were going to have a son by Sarah, your wife, multiple times. First, you tried to put forth Eleazar, a household servant. I said no. Now, and then you tried to obtain the promise with your wife's maidservant and put him forward, and I'm still saying no. I'm God. I said you'll have a wife by Sarah, and that's going to happen. And the promise of the covenant will carry on through the lineage of Isaac. And that's what you will call your son when Sarai births him. So, but he doesn't dismiss Ishmael. God still promises that he'll bless him as well. And see, in all of this you have to notice, if you've read the text, that God gives the covenant of circumcision, right? So circumcision was an outward sign to confirm that internal faith had already taken place, right? So that's 17 in a nutshell. Again, if you have any questions, let us know. Real quick, let's move on to 18. In Genesis 18, we see God visit Abraham again, and this time he's with two angels. God confirms the promise that this time next year, Sarah will have a son. We'll name him Isaac, which coincidentally means laughter. Three things I want us to look at in this chapter because time's getting away from us and I want to keep these videos short. Sarah laughs at the idea that she could have a child in her old age. But what is God's response? Do you notice there? Is anything too difficult for the Lord? He says. God does. And that's what we would call a rhetorical question, right? The answer is so obvious, it doesn't need one. No, nothing's too difficult for God, right? As long as it is in line with His will. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, verse 19 here is God deciding whether or not He's going to reveal to Abraham that He's about to destroy Sodom, right, and Gomorrah. But the interesting part is how Moses phrases the words. It says, quote, "For I have chosen him so that he may command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring upon Abraham what He has spoken about him." Isn't that interesting? It's God who chose Abraham, and He expects Abraham to command his children and his entire household after him, which is essentially a way of saying anybody that comes forth from your house, biological children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, servants, house servants, all the people under your charge, under your authority, you are to command to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice. And so we see very early on there that God says, you know what, parents? This is the expectation. Not only that, men, this is the expectation. And God is the one who does the choosing. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, the last thing is when God's getting ready, or the angels are going down to Sodom to destroy it, Abraham asked God 6 times, right, about destroying Sodom. And he says, God, far be it from you, the God Most High, the just judge of all the earth, far be it from you to destroy the righteous with the wicked? Really? No, God, you couldn't do that. And here's what I just want to highlight in this passage. This is the God of the universe, the creator of all things, the one who came down in the person of Jesus Christ to bleed out and die on a cross so that we could be forgiven even though we sin against Him. This God is so patient with us, isn't He? I mean, Abraham 6 times he asked Him, God, if you find 50 righteous, well, Lord, what if you find 45 righteous? Lord, what about 40 righteous? God, what if you find 30, 20, Lord, 10? What if there's 10, Lord? And, each time God says, I will not destroy it on account of X number of righteous people. And what happens? And you'll see as we move on through the narrative here, and we'll talk about that in the next video, but God is so patient with us, even though we don't deserve it. And God always does the right thing. We can never look at God and shake our fist and say, how dare you for doing that? Paul says, will the potter or will the thing molded say to the molder, why did you do this or make me this way? No. God always does the right thing because He is holy. And isn't it a blessing to know that a just and holy God will not destroy the righteous with the wicked. Well, anyway, so last thing, just want to remind you of, here at the end of the video, there will be a little circle for you to click on to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get 100 so that we can change our name to match everything else, Midway Baptist NC. And then over here, you'll see a playlist for the rest of the Bible Insight videos. And I'm trying to get back on track with these so that they're coming out as we're supposed to be reading. I hope you're keeping up with that. I cannot implore you enough and pray for you enough that just read, spend time with God, prioritize God. Nothing else matters, okay? Nothing else matters in an eternal perspective. And so if you need that Bible plan, let us know. All right, until next time, God bless you.